Sweet. So Ian with Sidas, bringing you our first of hopefully many Sundays with Sidas, where we're going to talk to outdoor industry professionals about anything, life, their companies, how we're doing with everything. So today we're with Margaret, who's with mountain endurance coaching. We're going to talk about trail running, how to get into trail running, how it's been with COVID and all that. So Margaret, if you want to introduce yourself and the company.
Yeah, awesome. So my name is Margaret Spring and I live in Denver, Colorado, and I'm a coach for mountain endurance coaching, which was started by Anna Mae, who is an elite runner for Hoka, One One. And she started the company just because she really believes in the power of the mountains and loves running, and also wants people to train smart, just because there's so many elite athletes that go into overtraining syndrome from pushing too hard or injury from pushing too hard. So we use heart rate based training for our training, and that kind of keeps everybody in check. So that's awesome. Let's see, I started trail running, I think, 7 years ago. And my first trail run was actually Pikes Peak.
Oh, wow. It's a hard race.
Yeah, Pikes Peak Ascent. And the hilarious part about it was I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't have a coach. Kind of got out there, ran up the mountain, got to the top. And I think the first thing I said is, I never have to do that again.
Yeah. That's what I would be thinking.
Yeah. It's 13 miles, 7,800 feet of elevation gain, and it tops a 14,000 foot mountain. And then probably about 10 minutes after I got to the top, my husband proposed to me.
Oh, wow. Nice. It's a good way to finish.
Yeah, good way to finish. And so the next year, when Pikes registration opened, I got a text from my husband that said, "Happy anniversary." And he had bought my race registration for Pikes.
Oh no. Little did he know, yeah.
Little did he know. So I was like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing.
Right.
So that's really how I got into trail running, and it's been kind of like this amazing adventure for me with lots of ups and downs. I think the hardest thing I've done to date is the Trans Rockies Run. Do you know what that is?
No. I think maybe I've heard of it, but.
Yeah, so it's a pretty crazy adventure. It's a 6-day stage race, and it's 120 miles, 20,000 of vertical.
Oh, geez.
And it's just back to back, dig deep, grit ridiculousness.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, I did that last year with a teammate, Randy, and we did the entire thing together. You have to finish together. And that was kind of my first taste of like ultra running.
Yeah, throws you right in for sure.
that throws you right in. So I had to like learn to eat, learn to train, learn to recover, all the things. So that was intense. My friend Randy and I actually won all 6 days and then overall female for team, which was pretty fun.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, especially for your first time, like really doing something of that extent.
Yeah, we put a lot of we made these like crazy goals, and then training happens and then you're like, just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
But we still did well. We raised, I think, over $15,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because we wanted to run for a cause. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, kind of speaking on your experience, like I'm sure there's a lot of people like me who, especially with COVID, mainly ran on the road, now kind of looking to make the transition into trail running, try something new. So like what are the tips and trades of that, and like how do people, train for trail running? Because I know for me it's been a transition where, on the roads I'm averaging, 8 minutes, and then trails it's 10 minutes, and mentally trying to get over that, like I should be faster, what's happening, like, yeah, so kind of going over that would be good.
Yeah, I think that is from going from road running to trail running, that's probably one of the trickiest things
Yeah.
mentally. So, just to give you like a little background, I qualified and did Boston, and I think I had started like trail running before that just a little bit. Like I had done pikes, but I had no idea what I was doing. And one of the tricks was I still had that expectation for myself that I was going to hit these paces out on the
Right.
trail. And really, I mean, the hills, it's like, oh, I should be like doing this pace on these
Right.
crazy vertical hills, and I trained way too hard because I had that expectation for myself. So I think step one is to set the expectation that there will be pace differences, and that it's really important to like keep your heart rate kind of chill, and that means you're going to power hike.
Right.
Power hike or angry hike. So I think one of the first questions I get from people as they're transitioning to trail running is they're like, oh, like I had to walk the hills. I'm like, then you're doing it right.
Right.
Like this is okay. Like power hike, work on technique. So I think that's the first thing. I think also just finding a love for being outside in nature and the freedom of movement that you get out there. And so I really feel strongly that people need just like to find joy, especially in this season, but to approach the trails with joy and be like, oh my gosh, I get to explore this new and awesome, crazy place, which sounds cheesy, but if you're smiling when you're running, you're
Right.
doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're having fun, then it's not really work anymore.
Yeah, and then I think it's important to look at like elevation gain and grade of hills and not go out too aggro too fast. And what I mean by that is like you're not going to go pick like Pikes Peak to start
Right.
on and be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just did this. You want to like maybe get a coach and work smartly on gradually increasing your amount of vertical per week. So it might be road running, like what would you maybe get? Like 150 feet if you're
Right.
not really
Yeah.
climbing a
Yeah.
vertical. And so to prevent injury, you're just going to look at the profile of trails and kind of build your vertical up like throughout the weeks and try and do that just gradually.
Yeah.
Then I think a lot of it is technique, both with uphill and with downhill. And downhill, something that I've worked so hard on. Just to give you an idea, like have been looking back at Strava, and I definitely was like 14 minutes a mile
Yeah.
downhill.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? This is terrifying. So terrifying. And I worked for, I would say, a year and a half, just watching videos, talking with my coach about technique, going out and following others as they, like more skilled people running downhill. And I've gotten to the point where I can do some sub sevens.
Oh wow. Yeah. Cut it in half. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But it took
Yeah.
sprint training, videos, like slow days on the trail where I'm like, I'm just going to practice reading the trail. And it's like you look 10 to 15 feet ahead if you look straight down under your feet, by the time
Yeah.
like you're there and past there, and if you get fixated on that, you're gonna fall.
Well, yeah. Right.
Leaning forward from the ankles, and same thing with grade as we talked about vertical with
Yeah.
going downhill. It's like find a grassy field and just practice turnover
Right. Yeah.
on a gradual grade. So I think, yeah, so the keys are like joy, looking at vertical, adjusting expectations so
Yeah.
that you're, like you said, you're going to kind of be slower
Right. Yeah.
things. And
Definitely shock. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a shock to the system. It's like, oh boy, did I even do anything today?
Yeah. Right. Because you're like, I'm just as tired as I was on the road, but I was 2.5 minutes slower or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I like to find like a gravel or dirt road, kind of just start out on and just practice that. And then I use Trail Run Project, which is awesome.
Okay.
Do you know Trail Run Project?
No, I haven't heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So you can download the app and then you download the entire state. So you could download whatever state you're in and then zoom in on an area. And then it gives you all the trails around the area and then also rates them for difficulty.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so awesome. So it's like, I'm just beginning. So what would be a good place to start on? So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that's pretty fun too. It's a good tool to have in the toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially, yeah, I'm in Maine and yeah, finding things around southern Maine. It's a lot of mountains, hour, 2 hours, but being able to find something that's a little closer, yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. How close are you to Farmington or Farming?
It's like an hour and a half, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived there for 6 months
Yeah.
when I was like younger, but I just remember like going through the woods and like
Yeah.
down to the river and stuff. That's a pretty cool little place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They have a lot of like good trails and mountains there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I talked a lot about heart rate, and I know there's probably a lot of people who don't use heart rate. So if you want to just kind of go over like why is that important? How do you dictate what heart rate you should be at, and how do you dictate when you're working too hard or too easy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, basically, heart rate training, how we figure it out is we do a couple months of, well, I would say probably 6 weeks of building up mileage before we do a FTP test, which is functional threshold pace.
Right.
And we have our athletes either run for an hour or an hour and a half, depending on their fitness. And then we take a peak amount of time for that time and establish like what the fastest pace is and what the threshold heart rate is. And then from that, we plug in the numbers and get zones 1 through 5.
Right.
And so we know the majority of our training is zone 2. That's where we build our aerobic base. And I would say it's important because a lot of people go too hard,
Yeah.
too fast, all the time.
Right. Yeah. Definitely see everyone's seen those people that are just like 10-mile run. You're like, man, is this the pace you're holding the whole time?
Yeah, you're breaking you like 6:30s
Yeah.
and it's like easy day, and I'm like, not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Not unless you're running like a 3:30 mile.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Unless you're, yeah.
For your marathon pace.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like it's difficult for athletes to start out with heart rate training just because it's changing that mindset of what is running and what is easy. And it was really difficult for me too. I know a lot of my athletes are like, this feels like infuriating because
Right.
basically you've just slowed me down, and I'm like, I've slowed you down because you've been going too hard. And I think our bodies get used to the feeling of constantly pushing, and so we expect runs to feel like up here
Yeah.
when we
Right.
need to kind of be like right
Flat.
there,
Yeah. Exactly.
just chilling it out. And that's, I think, as people are training up here constantly and consistently, that's when we can get overtraining syndrome, we can get injury, we can have like fatigue, and then just kind of a loss of motivation from training too hard all the time. And so, yeah, once we establish those heart rate zones, I would say we do probably 80%, 80 to 90%, 90% more if you're an ultra running in that zone 2, because you want to train your body to go for forever.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And so, yeah, so heart rate really helps because what people think is easy to them really isn't easy. So it gives more concrete data on that. And so once people get the hang of it, they really start enjoying it. And I have people, like 3 months down the line, one of my athletes just messaged me and she's like, I'm totally looking forward to my zone one
Yeah. Right.
day now where it's like recovery run and I'm doing like 11-minute pace. I'm like, and before I was like, every week it was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Right.
I
Yeah.
can't do this. And so when she got the hang of it, she loved it. But also like doing that zone 2 chill, like aerobic work allows you to do your hard days really hard
Right.
and just get after it. And
Yeah.
so when I started out with heart rate training, I was the same way. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like,
Right.
what are
Yeah.
you going to do? And then, I would say 7 months down the line, I'm 43, I'm running the fastest times of my life.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. So I've been going out and doing Strava segments, and I'm like, oh, I just did this 3-mile run and I took off 4.5
Right.
minutes
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah.
from my time, which it was like, that was a pretty solid time to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's fun, I think, for me personally, to see that it's like, even like all that work and all that extra time I built in to do runs the prescribed way, that's totally paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing that I know I've dealt with is you think to get faster, you should be running fast, and every run should be race-based run so that way your body gets used to it. But yeah, it took a while for like running slow is actually the way to get faster, not always running fast. And I think that's a mental hard thing to break that a lot of people don't understand. And like talking to I coach high school kids in Nordic skiing, and talking to them about it, they want to go all the time, and trying to like, no, trust me, just go easy. Like, so yeah, it's definitely something that I think, yeah, needs to be taught at younger ages, especially for kids that want to compete at a like higher level. Like that's how you're going to sustain and stay injury free and not burn out. Because you see some of these young kids who are running 12-year-olds running like 60-minute 5Ks. You kind of worry that, are they training too hard for their age, and are they going to burn out in 4 years when they're a prodigy right now?
Yeah, and what impact does that have on like their bone health and stuff?
Yeah.
And so interesting. I think for me, even kind of solidifying the concept, I heard it was actually a Nordic skier talk on NPR talking about her overtraining syndrome. She was an Olympic Nordic skier and basically just like fell apart. And I know that there's a lot of the overtraining syndrome in the Nordic community.
Right.
And then So that helped kind of solidify like what I'm doing and why I need to be doing it, but also reading about Olympic athletes that are cutting down like, 5:30 paces on their marathon time, and their easy runs are
Yeah.
9 or 10 minutes. And you're like,
Right.
oh, you really
Yeah.
are doing what you're saying like you're doing, and you're still like just
Yeah.
crushing.
Yeah. Still just crazy fast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is that, and I think this is where kind of like the moving meditation comes in for me, is just like getting used to like the feeling of kind of like conversation and relaxing into the process and thinking of
Right.
it more like that. That's been helpful for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then the hard workout days, I'm like, yes, I get a jam.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah. Get to go all out. Yeah.
yeah, I tell my athletes, like, think of your hard workout days as like a celebration of the week. Like, you get to celebrate that you did the prescribed
Right.
workout, and now
Yeah.
you just jam.
Yeah. Just have fun. And I think, yeah, you like, as an athlete, when you see results, especially even in your own workouts, I think that's when I feel like really starts to click, when you listen to the slow and then your fast day is faster than you ever gone. You're like, oh man, like this, all right, like if I keep doing this, I'll just keep getting faster. So
Yeah, I'm crushing it.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, so
Um, yeah. And I think another thing, at least for me, coming from mainly like a road runner, like I hate the gym. Hated going to the gym, hate doing strength workouts. Um, but noticed and have noticed even before I was a trail runner that was a big focus in the trail running community. And every trail runners I follow on Instagram, hitting the gym kind of all year round. So like maybe you want to talk about like the importance of strength training, why that's important for trail running, and probably just for road runners too, that just like me just are like, I would rather run than spend 45 minutes in the gym. So
yeah, I think that's a really hard concept to get used
yeah.
to too. I did not add strength training into my routine until mm, embarrassingly a year and a half ago.
Right. Yeah.
And I was at my physical therapist's office, and she and I were talking, and she was like, do you do strength training? And I was like,
Yeah.
what's that? What?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What do
Run.
you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I run. So there's
Yeah.
that. And she's like, no, you need to be hitting the gym like 2 to 3 times a week, and loading like your joints and getting your core and your glutes really strong.
Yeah.
Stable core is so imperative. Like a strong, stable core is so imperative for trail running, just because um, of all like the quick switch and movements and stability and keeping from getting injured. And yeah, I can't stress that. I can't
Yeah.
stress that enough. You really want to be strong there. You want to work in different planes of movement. So um, that's important as well. But I think just getting all of the muscles like strong and activated that need to be used for running, supporting like the joint and tendon health
Right.
and that. We're doing like a muscular endurance routine, so working on strength that way. I've seen like huge improvements in terms of my strength with uphill running and the ease that I can do it from adding core and strength routines, and then to also help prevent injury. And so I work with a physical therapist and a chiropractor, and we're constantly like adjusting what I need based on where my deficits are. And
Right.
so running is constantly like this process of like, you're going to get injured.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think like somewhere down the line, I think it's just bound to happen. It's just kind of the nature of the sport. And if you do it for long enough, something's going to come up. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of this puzzle of being like, okay, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and then it's like, what else am I missing?
Yeah. Right.
And adding that in. And so this year with adding strength routine, I mean, knock on wood, has been and slowing down has been the healthiest season, like, of my life. Healthiest, fastest, most joyful.
Right.
And so it doesn't have to be like a ton of time. I think you can get strength routines in like 30 minutes. I mean, our core workouts are like 10 minutes twice a week.
Yeah.
I just made a new one, so get ready.
Nice. Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like it's really important. I think it's important to do all the small things. And, probably you, even as a coach, know or might want to stress like the importance of all the little things now, like while they're young, because I think as I got older, and I hear so many like more advanced and experienced in age.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People say, I used to like get up and just like get in the car, get out of the car, go for my run.
Yeah.
Just jam. And now it's like, I got to do my warm up. I got to do like my strength routine. And it's like, it's not now that you're older, you have to do that. It's
right.
Like all along, you should be supporting your running by doing those things like dynamic mobility and warm up before run and strength training and mobility after or stretching. So I do think, if I could go back in years, I wouldn't have been that person that just like went out and just started crushing from my car, who got up first thing and it's like I hit the door without like really waking up. Like
yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I think within the last year or two is kind of when, like, because warm up was just never. No, just go start 8-minute miles, and now try to like consciously, like, if I don't want to like fully warm up, at least make sure that like first mile is nice and easy and getting my body like used to what I'm like, then like go for it and then try to make the last mile a cool down. But I think, I mean, you see it in high school kids all the time that they don't want to warm up. It's a constant battle of do this, do that, warm up, make sure you're sweating at the start of the race, like doing all this, like trying to, but I think, it's something that, I mean, I think I'm probably a good candidate for knee replacements down the road because of not warming up and all that. So just trying to make sure that, getting that word out to younger kids is definitely going to be important, because the earlier you learn it, the healthier you'll be and the more less likely you'll injure yourself. So
it's so true. And I think even from like a cardiovascular standpoint, I've gone to, sorry, my dog.
Oh, you're fine.
I've gone to like exercise physiology labs, and we've done like lactate threshold. So it's like all those kind of great tests. And the exercise physiologist was like, the best thing that you can do for your running is do like an 8-minute warm up, progressive and pace.
Yeah.
And then take 5 minutes to do your like dynamic mobility or whatever, and then start your run. And that kind of helps your body get into that state of burning fat for fuel as well. Like teaching your body how to efficiently do that, like how to efficiently, because we have endless stores of fat, do that. And so that's kind of my goal this year, is to get back on track with that warm up. I'm not even perfect, like as a, like I can preach it, but warm up, break with active mobility, and then begin my run. Just training for Leadville 100 next year. It's going to be really important that I teach my body how to effectively utilize what I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long period of time.
100 miles is going to be
like no joke.
It's like 36, 40 hours, right? For the race. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping for under 24, but
Or, yeah. Someone like me, 36 hours. Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So obviously we're in middle of a pandemic, which is kind of like unprecedented. And we've seen like a rise in people being more athletic or more like you can't buy like bikes anywhere, you can't buy exercise equipment. So kind of yeah. How is that being a pandemic, being a coach of athletes, especially when there's been no real races? How has that transition been? How do you stay motivated as a coach, knowing that you're not really getting anybody ready for a race because they all been canceled? And how do you keep your athletes motivated with the same thing? With now you're basically just running, and there's nothing really you're training for right now unless you're training for like the 100-mile race next year or something like that. So
Yeah, I think it's been a challenge. Like it's
yeah,
not been easy. I think for me, I'm very intrinsically motivated and I run for the love of running and for the lifestyle. And so I just do it because it's what I love and I'm not personally motivated by races, but I am motivated by adventures. And
yeah,
so I think um, I've set up like my own goal and we'll see if this happens, but I do short-term goals and long-term goals. So short-term goals are just daily, like writing a list of what I'm doing to progress and move myself forward. Even if it's like, oh, I took my iron and I did my weights and I'm getting stronger because I'm like progressing from like 12 to 15 pounds. Um, or I'm able to do like a 10-minute core routine without stopping. But I've also set a goal to do for the winter solstice because we all need something, right?
right, yeah, yeah,
Just like a little carrot. So winter solstice, I'm gonna try and do a mountain that I love and just do repeats on the mountain for all the hours of daylight.
oh wow, nice,
So
yeah,
so that's what I'm kind of training for, and that's what's keeping me going right now. But I tell my athletes to pick some sort of adventure that they want to do and a distance that they want to do
yeah,
and work towards that. I think what's made it extra hard now is the fires.
yeah, oh yeah. I've seen pictures of like Oregon, 3:30 in the afternoon. It's like dark red sky. It's crazy what's happening out there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so wacky. So it's like fires and pandemic and people fearing for like their safety, just
yeah,
like what's happening socially. And so all those things are really difficult. And I think, 2 weeks ago, I had so many athletes be like, like I'm really struggling right now.
yeah,
And so for me as a coach, keeping them motivated, sometimes it's like backing down a little bit on mileage and making sure it's attainable for them.
yeah,
Coming up with new strength routines. I think we've sent out some HIIT workouts to people who can't be outdoors and don't have access to other cross training options just in their home because
yeah,
that's tough. But also allowing grace that, for people that they're gonna have times where it's like, I can't right now.
right,
And I think all of life is super stressful, but I've just started to send out emails to athletes and be like, what are you looking forward
yeah,
to? I sent out 3 yesterday. And so having people really think about what their goals are and what motivates them if they can't race
yeah,
has been key, and to look at it a little bit differently. Like, sure, you can't go race someplace, but is there like a piece of nature that speaks to you that you're like, I would love to go run this area and run like 20 miles. I've never run
right,
20 miles before.
yeah,
So that's good. And then I think it's also important. Hilariously, I was at my orthopedist following up because I had shoulder surgery.
yeah,
And he was telling me, he was telling me like pandemic, everybody's getting into running now. And he's
Yeah.
like, everybody's coming in with COVID me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, because everybody's like, I'm just going to get up and do this. I'm going to
Right.
go
Yeah.
run and rage now. And it's like, well,
Right. Yeah.
there's a smart way to do that so that you actually can deal with the external stressors. And so I think that's where the coaching business comes in handy,
Yeah.
is that we can really help people build up like pretty smartly from the ground
Right.
up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, it's been tricky. There's so much going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think everyone just, if we can just erase 2020 from history, I think everyone will be pretty happy.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, so much
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It just seems like one thing after another is happening. So
Yeah, it's a good time to kind of like learn to just settle into the chaos.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been doing like a ton of yoga and meditation. It's like, this is really hard. And then taking moments for myself, like, what am I thankful for today? Or how can I just lean into the situation and just sit in it? Which
Yeah.
is,
Right.
it's kind of imperative to know how to do that for ultra running as well.
Yeah.
That there are going to be moments and hours that just suck.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I guess that would be the silver lining, especially for me, is like, before this, I kind of always was like on the go doing things. Now this kind of forced you to kind of like live in the moment. You know, you couldn't leave your house. So, you know, like you really had to like, live in the moment, enjoy what you can, because everything that you used to enjoy was no longer open. So you literally had to like find other ways to like, just stay calm and enjoy something that in the middle of complete chaos.
Yeah, you definitely have to take moments for like to experience joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Water,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah. Yeah, and then kind of another thing. So, I mean, you said you're training for the Lakeville 100, so that's 100 miles. So you're probably doing 100-mile weeks or whatever, on top of, you know, work and other life things. So how someone new or just anybody, I think, struggles with this, how do you, or like, what's your best advice to like handle a heavy workload, heavy run load, other life things? Like, how do you juggle everything and make sure that you can enjoy and you're not dropping a ball somewhere?
Yeah, great question. So my weeks right now, I'm taking a hot reset and break. So I do think that's like important in the midst of training cycles to take breaks where you just don't run.
Yeah.
I'd say I was doing like 70-mile weeks, and that's a really great question. So I write kind of like a list of my priorities and just figure out how I'm going to fit it in and how I'm going to find joy. And so for me personally, I love sunrises.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's a good thing to love. They're pretty nice, especially in Denver.
yeah, I love sunrises. And so for me, it's getting up at like 4:45 in the morning, and well, later now that the sun's coming up later, but
Right.
lacing up my shoes and treating myself to a sunrise.
Yeah.
And then, but you have to prioritize like what you want to do. And so I would say that's key. I would say keeping in mind like why you love it so
Yeah.
that you can continue to make it a priority. And then just realizing that some days you're going to be too stressed and you can't do it. And that's going to be okay. But I've also built a routine and I'm super consistent. And I think that's key too, is to build the routine and the consistency. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, just being like, okay, this is my time to do this part. and I'm going to do it day after day. And so I think for some of my athletes, you know, if they kind of fall behind a little bit or something, I'll break it down and be like, let's just aim for like 3 miles a day.
Yeah.
Can you do that? And then as soon as they start building that routine and that consistency and get to loving it, we can build in a little bit more mileage, and they're already in the routine of like, oh, I just carved out like this part of my morning. Or I have some athletes that run at night. I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm like, oh, they got their run in at like 9:30. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it in. Yeah.
They're like, I love running in the dark. I'm like, that's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. There's like injury risk and like bears and yeah. Like
The bears, oh man,
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough, but I think of all the reasons why I can make it happen and prioritize. And I think that's kind of an easier way to look at it. Like, how can I make this happen? Because
Yeah.
it's what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the last thing is, yeah, if you have anything else to add or any advice for people who are going to be watching this or want to start running.
Get a good pair of shoes.
Yeah. And a good pair of insoles. Yeah.
Insoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, do your strength work. Start out nice and slow and easy. I recommend getting a coach. I think it's fun to have somebody to hold you accountable and to guide you through the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, pick a goal for yourself. So
Yeah.
that's
Perfect.
what I would say.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for taking the time today to talk. And yeah, thank you for all the advice. It's definitely helpful. I mean, obviously for me, like I'm one of your athletes, but to hear it too is also good. Just, I think sometimes, at least for me, you know, we sometimes lose track of why we're doing things. And so kind of getting that refocus is always a good reminder of why we do it, why we love it and all that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this too. It's super fun. And
Yeah.
let me know when it comes out and I'll share it on my social media.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'll be posting it on Sunday. Yeah, so yeah, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I can connect you to anybody too. Let me know.
Okay, yeah, no, that'd be great. Absolutely. Perfect. All right, thank you. All right, see ya.